The other day, I posted to Facebook that I was saddened by an article that was published online by Men's Journal regarding body weight exercise. And I got a bunch of responses all over the map, but he had some questions about why I disliked the article. So I thought I would just do a quick video response, easier than typing up a response on Facebook or whatever. The first thing that I don't like about the article is that it goes way beyond. So in other words, the article doesn't just present body weight exercises as a nice alternative, as a nice adjunct, a way to work out when you don't have access to a gym or you don't have access to certain equipment. It didn't present it in that light. It didn't present it in terms of good information about body weight exercises in general, any research findings on body weight exercises. It basically highlighted body weight exercises as the supreme end-all be-all, and that weight room exercises are the bane of existence. It was a marketing hype article, which is what these magazines tend to do. They over-highlight, they try to sell, they try to create trends. It's got to be new, it's got to be different, you got to cause controversy to sell magazines, basically. And that's what this magazine article does. It's from that perspective, it goes way beyond what's reasonable. The other thing is that body weight exercises, like any other type of exercise, are good and have a place, but they aren't the end-all be-all. They're good as an adjunct. They're good accessory lift modalities, but they're not necessarily going to be your primary strength, power, speed builders. You got to think of if you're looking. Now, the one thing you have to also understand is if you're a deconditioned person, anything you do is going to be beneficial. Walking upstairs is beneficial. So if you're deconditioned, anything that you do, push-ups, sit-ups, walking upstairs, whatever it might be, body weight related, any activity you do is going to be beneficial to your overall well-being. Your strength, your mobility, your cardiovascular, aerobic, anaerobic capacities, all those things are going to benefit from any kind of activity. Once you become more conditioned and you want to actually advance your conditioning, you can't just, it's not just anything will do. You have to be specific about what you're doing. And at the end of the day, if you're especially looking to use your exercise as a way to improve performance in some sort of activity, you have to look at what it is you're trying to improve in terms of the activity and how you go about doing that. The basics, though, are, number one, your ability to create force. All right, that's your ability to actually produce muscular force. Number two, the rate at which you create force, which is more related to your power, okay? And then secondly, speed. And speed more a derivative of force and power being utilized more effectively in a coordinated effort than to then produce a speed activity, whether it be running or golf club head speed or whatnot. So you have your primaries, your ability to produce force, your ability to produce force quickly, and then your ability to use those two to then create speed. All right, so you got to look at what's being done. So here, let's just take a quick look at the article itself, and I point out a few key things. It says, here's for example, because, and this was a Navy SEAL trainer, because lifting weights isolates muscles and forces artificial movement, promoting imbalances that decrease performance and predispose people to injury. That's just absurd. That's an absurd statement, especially when you consider the exercise that then they refer to, or he refers to as doing, is a lunge. Okay? A lunge is one of my favorite weight exercises. You take a lunge, add a little weight to it. You can use dumbbells, you can use barbell. A lunge is a lunge. Whether you've added additional weight to the process or the mechanism, it's an exercise. A lunge is a lunge. And so this idea that somehow you're creating imbalances by lifting weights, it depends on, obviously it depends on what you're doing and how you're doing it. But if you're doing it correctly, for example, they mention lunges, they mention pull-ups, they mention squats. Dips, these are all variations of what they're referring to as body weight exercises. They're all my favorite gym exercises. I just do them with weight. Not always, but a lot of the times I'm doing them with weight. So, this whole idea, they're just trying to juxtapose, create controversy, trash weightlifting or resistance training or, strength building as obsolete or dangerous almost, which is just ludicrous. Here, another one here that I quoted this on Facebook. That body weight exercises create tone much longer because you're training more muscle than you would with weights. Not even really totally sure what I mean. Again, that's an absurd statement. You're training more muscle than you would with weights. Again, not quite sure I really know what they're trying to get across there. The tone is athletic and functional. Again, just words that really have no meaning. And it says a bench press activates chest muscles but lets the rest of the body be slack, increasing muscle size but not useful strength. I don't know how they're doing their bench presses, but I can tell you right now, when I come back from a chest day at the gym, one of the sorest groups of muscles I have are my core, because I use my core to brace. You're stiffening and bracing your core, you're using your legs, you're using every aspect of your body to press the weight off of your chest, whether it be a dumbbell press, a floor press, a variation of a dumbbell press, or just a standard barbell press. So, again, just an absurd statement that is just crazy. The other one, here, this is one that says push-ups. How in push-ups you fire glutes, hamstrings, abs, chest, forearms, biceps, and back. That's a bench press. Thank you very much. While burning more calories for the same amount of exertion. Not sure I quite get that. What they described is an effective bench press. Push-ups, this is in the article, push-ups, unlike bench presses, strengthen tendons, fascia, and ligaments while engaging the core to prevent injury and improve overall strength. Again, it's just an absurd statement. It's hard to believe that these were put into the article. Obviously, if you're doing any variation of a chest press, kettlebell floor press, a barbell press, incline dumbbell presses, any variation of a press, you're using all the muscles described. You're using the glutes, the hamstrings, the abs, the chest, the forearms. You're using your core. You're not doing this in isolation, and it's not worthless, non-functional, or unfunctional or dysfunctional kind of movement or strength. So, I'm not too sure. Look, at the end of the day, when you're doing body weight exercises, which are great, you're essentially doing a lot of reps of submaximal effort. So you have to take into consideration what that gets you. If you do a lot of repetitions of submaximal effort, what is that actually getting you? All right, and when you say strength, there's strength can mean so many different things. But to some degree, if you want to improve your ability in any way, shape, or form, you have to increase the intensity. And one of the ways to increase your ability or augment your ability or improve your ability to create force is by using maximal effort intensity. Or close to maximal effort intensity. What happens in most of these cases? What happens after someone does enough dips, body weight dips, and it becomes very easy because they become conditioned? They're going to add weight some way. Same thing with push-ups. I mean, you're going to try to intensify that. You're going to add weight to that process somehow. Same thing with lunges. After you've done so many lunges. You can do 1,000 lunges at submaximal weight, and that conditions the muscle to some respect, but you're not improving your ability to create force. Your muscle's ability to create force can then be harnessed into power by improving the ability to create that force more quickly, and then those force and power combined can then be harnessed into speed development. Overall. So. Body weight exercises are great. I use them. There are variations of them. They're great for all kinds of different reasons, but they're not a replacement for maximal effort lifting. You don't have to be in the gym lifting, iron plates on a barbell, but maximal effort, force production activity, activity that then harnesses your ability to create force in an explosive way. In other words, a quick peak time to force, quick time to peak force or short interval to peak force, and then harnessing that ability to then produce speed, depending on what your goals are. But again, not saying that body weight exercises aren't useful. They're extremely useful, and we all use them. But to say that they're better than or should replace more maximal effort lifting in whatever shape or form that is just ridiculous, and really, to some degree, extremely misleading. And an article like this is just marketing hype. And I hate when people do stuff like this, especially a fairly credible magazine like not Muscle Fitness, but Men's Journal here. It's like, a lot of people read this magazine, they look for this, decent information on this magazine, and all they're doing is creating, hype. It's like when, I hate to say this, but it's like golf magazines hype X Factor or hype, whatever it might be. They distort the information to sell magazines. And really do an injustice to those reading the magazine. So I guess I disliked this article, number one, because it was a bunch of hype, and the statements made in here by pretty credible people are preposterous. I mean, they're ludicrous. And then the idea that you're using more muscles or you're doing something different when you're between a push-up and a solid chest press, whatever that might be. Again, you can be doing variations of dumbbell presses, kettlebell presses, barbell presses. There's an infinite number of different. To think that you're doing anything different between the two, except for the intensity level relative to the effort produced for moving that weight, is the only difference. So my biggest problem with the article was just the way it was written. And the second thing was to allude to the fact that somehow body weight exercises are any different. I mean, most of the body weight exercises they describe in this article anyway are the primary exercises you'd be doing in the gym. So I mean, squat jumps, counter movement jumps you can do with weight, or you can do increasing intensity Olympic lifts, power cleans, snatches, squat jumps, whatever it might be. They're all the same movements, only you're doing them at a higher intensity by increasing the load or the resistance to produce more of a maximal effort with respect to force production. So the exercises they list in here are the same basic exercises that you do in the gym anyway, except you use some weight when you're doing them in the gym. So I just didn't like the article, the way it was written and all that. Unfortunately, it's just the way our society is these days. Whether it's the 5 o'clock news, your CNNs or whatever. It's less about getting good information into the public domain and more about selling. Selling whatever you're selling magazines, selling commercial space, whatever it is. It's all marketing these days, and as a function, our society gets bent and distorted messages because of marketing hype and the almighty dollar to some degree. So that was my biggest problem with the article. It's just you see it all the time. This one just happened to strike me as being worse than some. So.